Thank you so much. So today we have the excitement of Reverend Kamatara to speak for us. And I don't know if you know, but part of the process at the Centers for Spiritual Living is you become a licentiate minister first. Then you spend some time in that role until you sit for another panel, and then you become fully ordained. And Kamatara became fully ordained this week. Woo-hoo! Yeah. We are so grateful. Yeah, that's when you can finally go, ooh, okay, I finally made it. But she's been doing so much because she is an itinerant minister for the New Thought spiritual communities throughout the state of New Mexico, specifically serving as the director of collaborative ministries at the Rio Grande Center for Spiritual Living in Albuquerque. She's also the executive director of Circles USA, a national nonprofit whose mission is building community to end poverty, and her ministry takes place there as well. And her core mission in all of her work is to foster conscious evolution and thriving, happy lives. So welcome the Reverend Kamatara, fully ordained.
Reverend. My partner was like, you're the OM, ordained minister. That goes, yeah. Or the OMG, the ordained minister gangsta, which that's maybe a little too pop culture. It's like a bridge too far. Okay, we'll stop. All right. Well, this month, the topic is about wholeness. I love that topic. It's so wonderful when we get to live in wholeness. And when you aren't living in wholeness, you really know it, don't you? But in my mind, wholeness is defined by integrity. When you get to live in integrity. And I'll put on the English teacher hat for a minute. Do you know the root word of integrity? You're on the right track. Teg, T-E-G, that actually means wholeness. Which is why, yes, Belinda, you get the word integer, because integer is a whole number. Or you get integrated because you bring stuff into your wholeness. And it's really satisfying. It's really fulfilling when we live in integrity and owning who and what we are in all our messy goodness, and then offering that to the world. In fact, that's the whole quote, to thine own self be true, right? And then when we're not true to ourselves, then there's all the fallout that happens from that. And so another way I've been thinking about it is that when I'm living in wholeness, then my insides match my outsides. And that's where you get the whole experience. And so the title for this week is Who I Am Reflects How I Am, which is another way of saying that, as within, so without. And when I was teaching high school theater for many, many years, I would coach my student actors that you have to externally manifest your internal characteristics, because this is not a novel. It's not a book where you can just read and the narrator tells you this person is bitter, or this person is joyful, or this person is fearful or stressed or whatever. No, like, you're an actor on the stage. You have to show it in how your voice is and how your body is and how you're breathing and looking, and right? Well, to tell you a little secret, it's the exact same thing in real life. Art mirroring life, life imitating art. It's the same thing. In real life, it is how we show up. And where that gets especially mirrored back to us is in relationships. And those relationships, they tell us so much, not only about other people, but about ourselves, if we're willing to take a look. In fact, as some of you know for Facebook friends, I just got back from a big trip, and it was amazing. And I had an experience, the very first minute of that trip, I had this outrageous experience. So Vicente said to me, what time do you think we should leave for the airport? And because I'm like the little travel agent, organized lady extraordinaire. And I was like, oh yes, we need to leave at X time. And I was so sure. And we get in the car, and not only is I-25 blocked off by a police action, so now we need a different route to I-10 to get to El Paso, I open up my app and I'm like, oh, the flight is leaving 10 minutes earlier than I thought. And because I'm newer to Las Cruces, I mistakenly thought it takes 45 minutes to get to the airport. Oh, boy, howdy. So I'm sitting in the seat, in the co-pilot seat, just imploding as I'm seeing, like, I need to tell my beloved partner that we've probably left at least 30 minutes too late. Now, in a past relationship, this would have been a moment of extreme anger from my former person, and also my anxiety would have been through the roof. I probably would have been crying. Like, the whole trip would have been colored by this horrible, like, just face planting right out of the gates. But you know what? In this new relationship, every day is opposite day. And I'm learning that it's okay. It was so wild. So I did in fact tell Vicente, I'm like, so I think we left at the wrong time. And he was cool as a cucumber. He's like, it's okay. There's still a little wiggle room. I just know the way is going to be made clear. We're just going to get in smooth and easy. And the biggest thing he says, don't beat yourself up. Things happen. It was a mistake. It's no big deal. And when we get there, woo! Pro moves. Thank you, God, and all the angels. So, and this precious human being. So, and he said, you know what? And if we get there and we miss our flight, we'll figure it out. I have never had that experience before in my life. So first off, that was just super healing. And I have to say, I-10 was clear as a bell, and yeah, we sped a little bit, but not too much, and like normal. And then we got a great parking spot, and yeah, we hustled, we were focused, but then there's the curbside check-in, and we both have TSA pre-approved because I travel for my job, and boom, 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 and we get up to the gate, and they're like, no boarding. Group number 7, and we're group 5. We're like, we just walked right on, and we sat right down, and we made it fine. And then the whole trip was like that. And basically his whole attitude was, well, the adventure has begun. Oh my God, God bless you. And what does that say about how he showed up in that moment? Who he is reflected in how he is. And now think about just in your own life. Even this week, did you have someone who showed up in a particular way in your life and it just showed you so much? And it could be beautiful, it could be not so great, but doesn't that show you so much about who that person is, how that person is doing? So much. And now let's take a moment for you to think about yourself. How are you showing up these days? And what does that say about how you are? Are you okay? Maybe not, and that's okay. We can support each other when that's happening. Or is there something that is getting reflected back into you in the mirror of relationship? What is getting reflected back? More of this. Oh, I might need to work on that. I don't know. So the question that I would love for you to just contemplate this week, and maybe this is a good daily meditation. What qualities of the divine are you bringing on a regular basis? Because that's your personality. That is your individualized expression of the infinite in the here and now. Whatever you're bringing on a regular basis. And whatever it is that you're bringing on a regular basis, is that actually your genuine self? Your true self? Fully authentic? Is it your insides matching your outsides? Or is it off? Or are you just different depending on who is around? And it makes a lot of sense that that happens, that we might be different depending on who's around, because we were so socialized to fit in, which is so different than belonging, if you've ever read any Brené Brown. We're socialized to fit in. And it does make sense. At a certain level, human beings do need to be socialized. Like, we want to be able to be productive human beings and play well with others. And yeah, like, some of that absolutely needs to happen. Got it. But then also, we're told by our parents, and then by school, and then by work, and then by marriage or whatever significant relationships we have, and society at large, we are told what flies and what doesn't. We are rewarded and we are punished. And so then we start making this little scorecard in our head. Okay, more of this, less of that. We're indoctrinated about, okay, these qualities of you are valued. These qualities of you, no, not so much. So then it's like, do we start pushing them down? Do we start hiding? Do we start minimizing? What do we start? And then we also learn, well, these things are safe. And these things are dangerous. And these things are good. And these things are bad. And then we begin to think, I am unsafe, or I am not valuable, or I am dangerous. Ugh. And then we start building all the masks and the armor, and the walls go up, and then the game playing that's just relentless. In fact, I like to put it this way. I'll give you the version of me that I think you want, so I can get the thing that I think I want. Ugh. It's so exhausting, isn't it? It's not sustainable, and what's worse is it's not fulfilling. Because we never get to our fully authentic selves being in full communion with each other. It's just little breadcrumbs. We're always starving to be real. And we're living in separation. And I know that so many of you have experienced this, but I also want to honor for a moment how far we have all come in that department, because we're coming back home to ourselves. And that is my deepest prayer in all the mishpah that's happening with my blessed family. My deepest prayer for both my young adulty children and myself is that we come back home to our awesome selves. I spent 5 decades trying to become what other people wanted me to be. It's like we're loyal to everyone else except ourselves. And when we do that, we betray ourselves. And when we betray ourselves, we're betraying the divine expressing as us. It's telling God that God made a mistake. Right? So for meditation today, Reverend Bonnie picked out the perfect little passage, and I was like, oh, honey, we need that in the talk too. And it says, it's on page 664 for those of you playing along at home in your Science of Mind. And it says, I keep the promise. I shall keep the promise that I have made to myself. I shall never again tell myself that I am poor, sick, weak, nor unhappy. I shall not lie to myself anymore, but shall daily speak the truth to my inner soul, capital S, telling it, capital I, telling my soul, that it is wonderful and marvelous that it is one with the great cause of all life, truth, power, and action. And I shall whisper these things into my soul until it breaks forth into songs of joy with the realization of its limitless possibilities. And the affirmation at the end of that prayer says, I shall assure my soul. We need assurance. We do our precious, sweet little honey selves, and that's what Science of Mind has done for me. I hope that's the experience that you're having in this spiritual community, and if you're not, take some classes, because that is truly where we find ourselves, and we dig in, and we find each other, and we do the work. Like Science of Mind helped me to see who I really am, and to love all my parts, to use the phrase from Dr. Richard Schwartz, if you've read that book, No Bad Parts. It's so good if you do internal family systems, but to get to know what is the beautiful patchwork quilt that makes up the exquisiteness that is you. It's important to know who you are. So, a funny example. Many moons ago at the Rio Grande Center in Albuquerque, I took an Enneagram workshop, and it was delightful. Enneagram is fascinating. Are any of you Enneagram type people, right? And if you aren't, it's basically a personality quiz, and you get to learn all different things about who you are and some of your shadow sides, and it's really informative. So you answer some questions, and then it gives you a number and some characteristics and just all sorts of fascinating things. So I did my Enneagram, and this had to have been 10 to 15 years ago. And I got a 2, and I was thrilled because if you know your Enneagram, 2 is the mother figure. And I was like, yes, because I'm a mother, and I'm a caregiver, and I'm a teacher, and I'm a wife, and it fit all the gender roles and everything that I had been indoctrinated with all my life. So I was like, yes, I'm owning this, number 2. And then when I got into ministerial school, where they don't put up with your nonsense, they're like, y'all need to take the Enneagram. And I'm like, no, I've taken it before, and Enneagram doesn't change. It's one of the things they'll tell you about Enneagrams, that they don't change. And I was like, I know what I am. And this teacher was like, no, honey, take it again. I was like, yes, ma'am, I'm a good soldier. So I paid my $20, and I took the test again and did the thing. And I'll be darned if I didn't get a different number. I was actually a 1, and if you know Enneagram, it is the person who's all about justice, and that things have to be fair and right. And I had just started serving at Circles USA, which is all about ending poverty and making things fair and right, so every single person can experience the American dream, that no one should be excluded from prosperity. And I was really shocked when I saw the shadow side, because the shadow side of a 1 is anger. I'm like, I'm not an angry person. And then the self-righteous indignation just, raises its ugly head, and I'm like, ooh, okay. But we were raised not to have anger. Stuff, and it squirts out of your eyes, right? So it forced me to get honest with myself about who I am. And because I matured in the spiritual community and I had multiple opportunities to look at myself, I could have a more mature understanding. It's not that my number changed, it's that my understanding of myself changed. And then I could be more honest about who I am and how I am. How am I showing up? And so I'm going to ask you again, how are you showing up? And do you really know who you are? Because when I really know who I am, then how I show up in the world naturally changes. And then you experience this really fascinating dance. It's the attract, repel dance. Olé! So there's certain people you will absolutely attract into your life when you are being fully yourself, and there are lots of people you will absolutely repel. I understand that I am repellent. I am. It's amazing. And equally true, I am attractive. And it's okay to just bless that process. I mean, just think about the course of your life as you have grown and shifted. Who have you gained? Who have you lost? Who has come back around in deeper ways that were maybe surprising? That's the dance. Because now I'm more me than ever before, more me. Because, and so at that point, if I'm going to be more me than ever before, I have to seriously consider who is in my tribe. And to use that word as Seth Godin, there's an author who wrote the book Tribes. It's really meaningful. Who's your chosen family? Who are your friends? Who are your family members? Your coworkers, your community? Who allows me to be fully myself? Who brings out the best in me? You are my tribe. You bring out the best in me, and I hope that I in you, and that we can all live together here in wholeness. And I know for Vicente, we had a lot to unpack after this trip was done, because just like every day is opposite day for me, the same thing is true for him. He's having a new experience of life because he's in a relationship where it's now 100% safe to be 100% himself, which is why he couldn't even do that in his childhood family. I know a lot of you couldn't do that in your childhood family. So now he's going to visit his cool cousin, and he gets to be 100% himself. And there was this really neat moment where his cousin was like, there you are. Welcome home to yourself. So he gets to come back home to himself now every single day. And then another interesting side effect of that is he said, I've always had such a restless heart. I've always been like running, go, go, go. And it's that relentless seeking, yearning, reaching that was never satiated. And he said for the first time in his life, his restless heart has stopped because he's home with himself. So if you're feeling that, like yearning, reaching, restless, go, 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 it's just a suggestion, maybe. It's time to come back home to yourself and be 100% you. So there's a progression here of really finding your identity, no matter how old you are. We're always learning and growing and finding that and coming to that awareness. And then trying to figure out, what is that expression for me? And what are my relationships that support that expression? Because in that lies freedom and expansion. And that's what this teaching faith philosophy way of life is all about. We are a liberation theology, but we get to experience it in our daily lives. And our relationships is that mirror that just shows it right back to us. Where are we succeeding and where are we challenged? Just like Ernest Holmes reminds us, we quote this all the time, life is a mirror and reflects back to us what we're putting out there. Or in a more colloquial way, he may be pushing your buttons, but he didn't install them. Okay, so could we have the self-awareness and the humility and the compassion for ourselves and others to really look at the mirror? How are we showing up? And just explore, what does that say about us? And then with mindful practice, we practice in the spiritual community. We're all practitioners. Can we cultivate the qualities of the divine that we'd like to bring more of into the world? We practice on Sundays and in the classes and in healthy relationships we get to have in our spiritual community. We get to practice at Wednesday night, family game night. Woo! We get to practice playing with each other. And on Sundays we practice praying with each other and offering each other loving support, because then we can clarify our understanding and come back home to ourselves. That is living wholeheartedly, when our insides match our outsides. The ultimate joy is God fully expressing as you. So I challenge you this week, can you just recognize perhaps when you're not fully you? Or maybe savor when you are in alignment with your true self, your amazing, unique, one-of-a-kind, infinite self. The kind where we say, for God so loved the world that he gave his only you so that others would know goodness in the world. I challenge you to be the most you-y you this week, to live wholeheartedly in all of your relationships. And I hope you have a be you-tiful week. Namaste.